Today we'll be talking about hypertension or high blood pressure. We'll be talking about how blood pressure is measured, what the definition of hypertension is, why hypertension is bad for you and what damage it causes to the body, the signs and symptoms of high blood pressure, how hypertension or high blood pressure is diagnosed, why it needs to be treated, and things that you can do at home as well as things your doctor may talk about. Today we're going to talk about hypertension, but before we can do that, we have to talk about blood pressure. And before we can talk about blood pressure, we have to talk about anatomy and how the body works. So the heart pumps blood to all the organs of the body. It does that via tubes called arteries. So here is an example of an artery. Here's the artery, and inside of it is the blood that's flowing through. Now, when blood is flowing through the artery, it exerts pressure on the walls of the artery, and that is what we measure when we measure your blood pressure. There are two numbers that you hear about when you hear about blood pressure, a top number and a bottom number. So the top number is the pressure or the force that's being exerted against the walls of the artery when the heart beats. And the bottom number is the pressure that's exerted against the walls of the artery when the heart relaxes. So the top number is called the systolic number and the bottom number is called the diastolic number. What is a normal blood pressure? A normal blood pressure for adults is different than children. For children, it varies by age and you have to look up those numbers. But for adults, normal blood pressure is currently thought to be anywhere between the top number being 90 to 140 and the bottom number being 60 to 90. So what is hypertension? Hypertension is when the blood pressure, either number, the systolic or the diastolic, is higher than the ranges I gave you. So let me give you a few examples. Say somebody has a blood pressure of 200 over 100. That's easy. That's high blood pressure because it's over the upper limit of both those numbers, 140 and 90. Now, let's say they had a blood pressure of 150 over 70. Is that high blood pressure? Yes, it is, because the systolic number is above 140. What about 130 over 100? Is that high blood pressure? Yes, it is, because the diastolic or the bottom number is above 90. So if both or either of those numbers is above the upper limit, which is 140 over 90, the person is said to have high blood pressure. Now, why is high blood pressure bad? Let me give you a simple scenario to try to think about it so it'll make more sense. Say you wanted to water your plants and you were using a hose to do it. What pressure do you like to use? If you use pressure that's really, really strong, then you end up killing your plants because you damage them because of the water pressure. If you use pressure that's very weak, you might not reach your plants, or it might take a very long time to water them. So you don't like that. So what you like is that perfect pressure. It's the same way with your body. If you have high blood pressure, you can think of it as a hose that's putting out water which is traveling with too much force and it's destroying the plants, which in your case are your organs. Let's talk about what organs in particular high blood pressure affects. 1 is your brain, 2 is your heart, 3 your kidneys, 4 and your eyes. Not only does high blood pressure damage your organs, it also damages the arteries that it's traveling through. Now let's break down all of these things so you can better understand what the problems are. So the effects of hypertension on the brain can be catastrophic. Hypertension causes strokes, and that can lead to death, or in many cases it can lead to permanent problems. So what is your brain in control of? It's in control of almost everything. It's the reason that you can talk and you can walk and you think, hear, see. It affects every part of your body. And so when you have a stroke, it can affect any part of your body. Some people won't be able to talk after it. Some people won't be able to see after it. Some people won't be able to move after it. Some people won't be able to eat after it because they can't swallow anymore. Some people do recover with a lot of work and effort, and other people unfortunately are permanently damaged from the effects of a stroke. And so it's very important to control your blood pressure so that you don't suffer a stroke. Now let's talk about the heart. Heart attacks can happen because of high blood pressure. When a heart attack happens, it damages part of your heart. Your heart is responsible for sending blood to the rest of your body. If it's not working well, blood will not be going where it needs to go at the proper time and in the proper manner. If a heart attack doesn't kill you when you first have it, it can over time cause you to become more and more disabled. What are the effects on the kidney? Well, the kidney is an organ that you don't think a lot about, but it is responsible for removing a lot of the toxins out of your body. It's what forms urine. So if the kidneys aren't working well, you will build up toxins that can lead to multiple problems, including, unfortunately, death. Eyes and sight are important to all of us. Unfortunately, high blood pressure can lead to blindness. What are the signs of hypertension? Many people say, headaches or dizziness or not feeling well. And of course, all those things can happen with high blood pressure, but unfortunately, most people don't know that hypertension oftentimes doesn't have any symptoms. So if I was gonna name the top 3 symptoms of high blood pressure, I would say there are nothing. So just because you don't feel like you have high blood pressure or hypertension doesn't mean that you don't have it. And just because you don't know you don't have it doesn't mean that your body still isn't being damaged. Hypertension is often called a silent killer because it is doing damage to your body without you having any idea. How do you diagnose hypertension? It's very simple. You just check your blood pressure. So a doctor can do that, or sometimes you have a blood pressure cuff on your own and you can check it at home. If you are going to check it at home, the way to do it is to sit and rest for 5 minutes. Don't do it right after you come in from running or doing heavy activity, or even just laughing or crying and having high emotional swings. You just want to be rested and calm for 5 minutes, just sitting silently, and then check your blood pressure, and you'll probably get a more accurate reading. If you find that your blood pressure is higher than 140/90, either number, then you're going to want to set up an appointment to see your doctor. How can you treat or prevent hypertension? Limit your salt, limit your alcohol, stop smoking. You can eat healthy, lose weight, exercise every day, and take your medicine daily. So one of the things is to watch your salt intake. Did you know that just half a teaspoon of salt can raise your blood pressure by 5 points? You shouldn't have more than 1,500 milligrams of salt in a day. How much is 1,500 milligrams? Let me give you a few examples. A tablespoon of soy sauce has about 879 milligrams of sodium. A tablespoon of fish sauce has 1,413 milligrams of sodium. A tablespoon of oyster sauce has 492 milligrams of sodium. And a teaspoon of MSG has 700 milligrams of sodium. Half a teaspoon of salt has 1,150 milligrams of sodium. So basically in your diet, you shouldn't have more than 2/3 of a teaspoon of salt in a day. Alcohol raises your blood pressure as well. So the American male is it's recommended that they don't drink more than 2 drinks in a day, and for a woman not more than 1. However, Asians in Asia are often smaller, and so their the recommendations for them is even less. Asian men shouldn't drink more than 1 drink in a day. Asian women shouldn't drink more than half a drink in a day. Now, what is a drink? There's many different types of alcohol, and each one has a portion associated with it. So here are examples of what 1 drink is considered. 12 ounces of a regular beer, or 5 ounces of wine. 1.5 fluid ounces of whiskey, gin, rum, vodka, tequila. Let's talk about why we stopped smoking. Smoking cigarettes hardens and narrows the arteries. Anytime you narrow the diameter of something and have the same amount of fluid going through it, you actually increase the pressure that's in that vessel. So smoking will increase your blood pressure. Let's talk about eating healthy. So studies have shown that if you eat a healthy diet, you can actually decrease your blood pressure in 2 weeks. What is recommended? Eating whole grains and brown rice, fruits and vegetables. If you do eat meat, eating lean meat such as fish, poultry, that's boneless and skinless, avoiding red meat. Tofu is beneficial. Nuts and legumes, lentils, seeds, and low-fat dairy. You want to avoid foods that are high in sugar, like soda, desserts, like ice cream, candy, cakes, pie, juices. You want to avoid red meat. That's just meat that's red before cooking. That would be lamb, beef, pork, etc. You want to limit your junk food, things like fries, pizza, croissants, things with a lot of butter and sugar in it. In terms of weight loss, losing just 10 pounds or 4 to 5 kgs can decrease your blood pressure. Exercising daily is very helpful with your blood pressure for your general health. It's recommended that people do moderate exercise, 150 minutes a week, which translates into about 30 minutes 5 times a week. Of course, you want to talk to your doctor first before you start an exercise program. Lastly, when you're treating blood pressure, taking your blood pressure medication is very important. Because hypertension is a silent killer, you won't know that you have it unless you check your blood pressure. Many times people say, well, I only take my blood pressure medication when I need it. And that's when I'm feeling dizzy or I have a headache. No, that's wrong. You need to take your blood pressure medication every day unless your doctor tells you not to. If you start having symptoms by taking your blood pressure medication that cause you to feel dizzy, you can always go to your doctor, and if your blood pressure is getting corrected because you're doing all these things that are making you healthy, then they can lower your blood pressure medication, but you shouldn't do it on your own. Generally, once you start blood pressure medication, you will take it for the rest of your life just because your body needs it, not because you are addicted to it. So it's very important to start the blood pressure medication when the doctor says, so you can decrease your chances of getting strokes and heart attacks and killing your kidneys and going blind. And it's important to continue those medications unless your doctor says not to. I hope that answers a lot of your questions about high blood pressure. For more information about your health and safety, please watch our Save Each One videos.